Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Chamunakera Vanachani Chamunakera Vanachani Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Shri Shri Radha Madhava Stasaki Panchatattva Prahlad Nrsimha Bhagavana Ki Jai. So nice when things are working. It's very pleasant. Things are not working. It's very frustrating. That is one of the qualities of mode of goodness. It's, maintain nicely. That is the most difficult thing in this world. Hence, the Lord Himself has to come to carry it on. So to be Krishna conscious means to attach ourselves to the transcendental one, and then we'll feel that additional velocity in our life. Some things that are very difficult to maintain, to obtain, it becomes very easy. Not by our power, it's by the transcendental power. You just have to attach it. That's the meaning of yoga. What is the meaning of yoga? Jackson? Union, connection, right? What do you say? Connecting ourselves with a high power. That's why we chant every morning. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama. Because without our minimum 16, we are toast. Let's go flat. Daivikesha Gunamai, Krishna says, it's very difficult to overcome. Duratyaya, very, very difficult. Emphasize. Don't even think about it. It's like you think you can handle Daivi Maya, Krishna's divine potency says. If you think about it, without Krishna, you're already flat, like nose down, hurting yourself, bruised up, bruised up. But he says, for one who surrenders to me, very easily we can overcome it. So we'll hear about that transcendental power today. That it's operating, ever existing, ever present, and for devotee easily available. Okay, so let's dive into it. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya mudirayet. Nashta praheshva vadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavatir naishtiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means and conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, Prabhupada, the commentator, translator. Pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service in the personality of God, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as irrevocable fact. Reading from Canto 1, Chapter 2, continuing the course of devotional service, of which there's 9 processes of devotional service. And somebody named them quickly. 9 processes of devotional service. Besides, some of you who know. We need somebody who doesn't know. No, I'm just joking. Anybody besides name. Okay, go ahead. John. That is the stages. We're talking about processes. It starts with the first one is hearing. Then second, kirtana. Then smaranam. Then yes, worshiping. So there's 9, and the final one, you can look into it. I'm not making things up, I promise. There's actually 9 processes you can actually be engaged. Sometimes we do all 9, sometimes we just do 1. But it all starts with hearing, dear devotees. Hearing is the most important. That's going to be emphasized today in today's verse. So it's 1, 2, 32, and we're going to cover 33 as well. Shravana, most important. Your whole life, your whole destiny is defined by what comes in here and what comes out of here. If you want to grip on your life, you want to become an architect of your own fortune, you just pay attention to that. What comes in here, what comes out of here. And the final one is Atmanivedanam, right? What is Atmanivedanam means? Atma, what does Atma mean? Atma, Vedanam. To give, to offer fully. We fully offer ourselves. That is the final conclusion of the Gita. So you do Atma Nivedana if you understood the conclusion of the Gita. What is the conclusion of the Gita? Just forget about all this external static. Forget about all these upadis. What is upadi? Chapati. Somebody's hungry. I just hope he's not hangry. There's hungry and there's hangry. I hope it's not. Upadi, not chapati. Upadi, yes, Stephen. Yeah, like designation, some kind of external designation. So we have these like labels, a chip on our shoulders. I got chips and labels on our shoulders. Where's the chip? Is it on Wednesday? It's served on Wednesday. Especially on Wednesday, we got chips. Oh, we got chips today also? Oh, yeah? Oh, okay. So it's 2 days now. Okay. 2 days. You got to be careful on 2 days not to get a chip. So all these, I'm a Christian. I'm a Jew. I'm a freedom fighter from they're fighting for. There's freedom fighters, but some they call them terrorists. So depends of how you some are terrorists, but others they see them as freedom fighters. So there's a lot of confusion in this world, right? I'm black, I'm white, I'm Chinese. They call them yellows. I'm yellow. These are all like in the category of skin disease. This is skin disease. Not to be insensitive to the bodily sufferings that are on that level of bodily designation. But it is very troubling. The skin disease is very troubling. So upadi means all of that. Will be abandoning all of that for the sake of masucha, being free from fear. So fear is there because we are unable to control our senses. And as long as we are on a bodily platform, bodily concept, will remain very difficult to control our senses. Again, on our own we cannot, but if we reach out to the transcendental power, Rishikena Rishikesha, Sevanam Bhakti Ruchi, as we engage our body in a service to the master of the senses, engaging our senses to the service of the master, then we'll be granted that state of existence where there's no fear. Otherwise, simply fear. Fear means animal life. So as long as we are unreasonably fearful or disconnected with Krishna, we'll have these animalistic tendencies. It'll be very difficult to control our senses because the mind will be always freaking out. And you know that in martial arts, right? Once you conquer fear, there's additional oomph. You go for it, right? Yeah. And it's about breathing too. As we control our breathing, the best way to control your breathing is you just chant Hare Krishna. Deep breath. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Yeah, it's the best pranayama. It's the best pranayama. You fill your lungs and you fill your heart with a transcendental sound vibration. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki. Yeah. All right. Let's scroll up. Yata, call and response, right? Yata hyavito vagni. Yata hyavahito vagni. Yata hyavahito vagni. Darush eka svayonishu. Darush eka svayonishu. Darush eka svayonishu. Naneva bhati vishvatma. Naneva bhati vishvatma. Naneva bhati vishvatma. Bhuteshu cha tata puman. Bhuteshu cha tata puman. Bhuteshu cha tata puman. Yata hyavahito vagni. Darusheka svayonishu. Naneva bhati vishvatma. Bhuteshu cha tata puman.
Darushveka Sayonishu
Darusheka svayonishu.
Aneva Bhati Vishvatma Bhukteshu Chatha Puman
Bhuteshu cha tata puman. Yata hyavahito vagni. Darushveka svayonishu. Neva bhati vishvatma. Bhuteshu cha tata puman. Hyavahito vagni. Darusheka svayonishu. Naneva bhati vishvatma. Bhuteshu cha tata puman. Yata hyavahito vagni. Darusheka svayonishu. Naneva bhati vishvatma. Bhuteshu cha tata puman. Word by word together. Yata, as much as, be exactly like Avahita, surcharged with money, fire, Darushu, in wood, Eka, one, Svayonishu, the source of manifestation, Nana Iva, like different entities, Bhati, illuminates, Vishvatma, the Lord as Paramatma, Bhuteshu, in the living entities, Cha, and Tata, Man, the absolute person. Translation altogether. The Lord, as Supersoul, pervades all things, just as fire permeates wood, and so he appears to be of many varieties, though he is the absolute one without a second. And purport and was quickly on the draw.
Lord Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by one of his plenary parts, expands himself all over the material world, and his existence can be perceived even within the atomic energy. Matter, antimatter, proton, neutron, etc., are all different effects of the Paramatma feature of the Lord. As from wood.
Wait. Slow down. Slow a little bit down. Anybody read that book, Easy Journey to Other Planets? Yeah, it's a nice book. Prabhupada kind of breaks down this antimatter there, like in detail. There's matter and antimatter. Remember that? He wrote that book actually prior to coming to the US. In late 50s, early 60s. It's very special. And yeah, the scientific world was dabbling with antimatter. After they dropped that bomb, a few years after they dropped that first bomb to nuclear, not Nagasaki. So there was a lot of talk about this. Prabhupada was always, with times. You can see how Prabhupada was always with time, trying to make this Krishna consciousness relevant. We need relevance. What are we talking about today? Are we talking about SpaceX and going to Mars? A little bit. Not challenging, but inviting scientific world to reconsider things. Yes, there is such a thing as antimatter. Yes, and we know exactly how, it's shaped. So Prabhupada was giving these commentaries in the accordance to the spirit of the time. Zeitgeist, the spirit of the time with him. We are anchored to tradition, and we are flowing with the river of times. So what things? All right, just a reminder, please. A little slower.
As from wood, fire can be manifested, whereas butter can be churned out of milk. So also the presence of the Lord, his Paramatma, can be felt by the process of legitimate hearing and chanting of the transcendental subjects, which are especially treated in the Vedic literatures, like the Upanishads and Vedanta. Srimad Bhagavatam is the bona fide explanation of these Vedic literatures.
How many of you have studied Upanishads and Vedanta yesterday? Okay, last week. Last month, you studied Upanishads and Vedanta? Okay, Jackson and Anthony. Wow. Did you raise your? Okay, all right. Is it a problem if we are not studying Upanishads and Vedanta? Vedanta. Okay, Jackson, would you explain?
Oh, I was about to ask a question.
Oh, okay.
I was going to ask.
No, he's asking first.
Oh,
yeah, hold that thought. It's important. It's important. Don't forget your question. Okay. But he asked, what is Vedanta? Anybody? Any takers? It's composed of two words, Veda and Anta. What's Veda? What is Veda, guys? Yes, knowledge. And what is Anta? Ananta. Ananta Shesha. Ananta is unlimited. Anta, what the end of, right? The end, something limited has end. So Vedanta will be, if you marry those two, huh? No, that's Vedananda. The end, who said that? Yay, the end of knowledge, very nice. We got Sanskrit scholars here, or wannabe, or very enthusiastic too. No. So is that satisfying? Bhagavatam is a natural commentary to Vedanta. And if you didn't study Upanishad and Vedanta, don't worry. Prabhupada assures us in the next sentence that Srimad Bhagavatam is the bona fide explanation of these Vedic literatures. So you just stick to Bhagavatam. Yes, Jackson. Then
The Gita would be considered one of the Upanishads, correct?
Gita.
Yeah.
Yes. Gita Upanishad.
So now we know what the word Vedanta means, but so in this context, is it referring to like a particular scripture, or does it just mean figuratively the end of all the Vedas, the end of knowledge?
No, Vedanta is actually text. It's a whole text, the Vyasadeva Vedanta Sutras, yeah. It's in a very concise and kind of like a zip file form. It's so much in it, one-liner or two-liner. It's so much in it that unless you know how to unpack it, you'll be like, oh, it's gibberish. It's like English. English came across the Vedanta. It's just some tribal text. There's no meaning because they have no key, no access to it. So Vedanta Sutras are very very concise, very pregnant with meaning. But there's a need to have a skill to extract. But we don't have to worry about that. Srimad Bhagavatam. After Vyasadeva was compiled it, he was still feeling unsatisfied. So he got chastised by Narada, by his spiritual master. You have done all this work and you forgot to explain the most important. And that was the seed for Srimad Bhagavatam was planted. So after that, it's very satisfying. Okay, we continue. Yes?
Much of impersonalism comes from Vedanta, correct? Many of the offsets of impersonalism.
Yes, because there's a lot of space to see in different ways. Impersonal.
Vedanta means commentary, so Bhagavatam is commentary.
Yeah. It leaves the room. Yes.
I think, like, it seems that the Bhagavatam explains all of those philosophies instead of giving you dry, on one end, no deeper to left. This
The juicy fruit of Bhagavatam. The juicy fruit of Bhagavatam. The verse. Microphone. The fruit, the juicy fruit.
It's fully ripened. Shukamukad Amrita Drava Samhita has been
And
made.
even more sweeter by Shukadev tasting it. And guess what, guys? As you are tasting it here today, or in 50 years or 50,000 years from now, it becomes even that much more sweeter. Because it's a living tradition, it's a living text. Srimad Bhagavatam is not just some book from the days of yore that we just get infotained about. We're not here to be infotained or entertained. No, it's a living thing. So as you're tasting it, it becomes even sweeter. You know the fruit? I grew up with figs. What fruit did you grow up with? Apples. Okay, I like apples too. So when the apple or fig or mango, anybody grew up with mangoes? Yeah, of course, Natai. Jagannath's mango, Oriya mango. When the bird or shuka, when the parrot takes it, when they kind of opens the skin, then there's some process that happens. The fruit becomes even sweeter. It becomes even sweeter. And I've seen it. When I climbed that fig tree, it was my favorite office breakfast. Just climbing as a kid, climbing the fig tree. I would look for these, like, not even the parrot, but the bees. Sometimes the bees would go and make that little opening. And just wait for the bees to go away, and then we'll pick that. That one was the sweetest. Okay, so that's Bhagavatam. Bona fide explanation of these Vedic literatures. Okay, anybody else wants to continue? Bruce G. The Lord can be realized through the oral reception.
The Lord can be realized through the oral reception of the transcendental message, and that is the only way to experience the transcendental subject. As fire is kindled from wood by another fire, the divine consciousness of man can similarly be kindled by another divine grace. His divine grace, the spiritual master, can kindle the spiritual fire from the wood-like living entity by imparting proper spiritual messages injected through the receptive ear. Therefore, one is required to approach the proper spiritual master with receptive ears only, and thus divine existence is gradually realized.
So it is not a choice. So one must, right? Yeah, one is required. So requirement means, yeah, one must approach. Sagurum eva vigachet. As our Christian brothers, they say, only through Jesus, the only way. And we agree. Actually, that is correct. There's only one way to God. There's only one way to God. Do we agree or we disagree? How do we disagree? Sorry, you said yes. So how do we agree with that? How do we agree with that? That Jesus is the only way.
He's telling all his disciples, like, I'm the way to God, I'm the way. And who knows what language it was spoken in, and who knows how many times it's been translated.
Anybody else? How do we agree with that statement, Kunti? This side. We want to hear more from this side.
The only way to God is through his devotees, and Jesus was a great devotee of God.
Yes. So we agree. There's a little kid in Gitanagari that there was a task, homework in their school to draw the picture of God. So different kids, they drew different pictures. And so Nitai, that was the kid's name. He actually lives now in Gainesville somewhere, and I wish he could come more around more often. Anyway, I know his whole family. I know him right now. So he drew Krishna, and everybody else. Guess what? They drew a picture of Jesus. So children were curious, and teacher also like, who is this? And then I said, it's very simple, like, child innocence. He said, this is Jesus' father. so yeah, we have understanding. The way to God is through his devotees. So God is the Father, and unlimited living entity is coming. Aham bija pradapita. I'm the seed-giving Father of all entities. Okay.
The difference between animality and humanity lies in the process only. In this process only. A human being can hear properly, whereas an animal cannot.
So this is the relationship between the requirements are on the both ends. So one must approach spiritual master, and one must have a qualification. So as spiritual master needs a qualification, the student also needs to be qualified. So both are required: transmitter, proper transmitter, and proper receiver. As Prabhupada also put it, When you have a potent husband and a fertile wife, then child will happen, right? But we cannot demand, a newly married wife cannot demand a child in 9 days, not in the 9 weeks, but it takes time in 9 months that comes. So we need to cultivate as we come in a process of Krishna consciousness. It's very important. Along with our regular hearing and chanting, we need to cultivate the quality of patience. And why is this not yet coming? It takes some time. It's a process. Trust the process, right? And if you look back, a year, 2 years from now, is there some progress? Yeah, if we are serious or seriously applying ourselves, then it must be a progress. Just like the rising of the sun in the eastern horizon, like this morning. It's coming. It was dark 3 hours ago, right? It was dark. But then there's this dawn, right? Or right before the dawn, there's a breaking of darkness. So gradually. Actually, this process is imperceptible. We cannot even tell. Just like Maya covers us imperceptibly. Did you know that? Imperceptible. You can't even tell. We can't. But devotees around us, they'll be able to. Hey Prabhu, I notice you've been chopping up the mantra. You've been cutting it short. Are. Are. Is it are or hare? We can't tell, so we have no point. Like, it's really hard. I mean, hard to always, but people around us will be able to tell. And same thing with being Krishna conscious. If you didn't see some devotee for a long time, they come immediately. You have a point of reference last time you saw them, you see them now, wow. But they can't tell. So this is the importance of why Sadhu Sangha is so important. Association of devotees, because it's our only point of reference. It's imperceptible. Yes, both things are important. Qualified receptor and qualified receiver. It is not a switch, like, when it comes to light. It's not like turning the switch on. It's a gradual thing. The sun rises and gradually the darkness is dissipated. Right now, we can see everything around. 3 or 4 hours ago, it was a little more difficult. But it wasn't like Krishna just turned on the switch. Okay, here comes the daylight. Boom! No, it's a so everything takes time. Those, how do you call those, shampoo? It's a plant growing here. When you squeeze, you squeeze this thing. Apparently, it's very good for your hair. It's a shampoo bamboo, something like that. So you can squeeze it and offer to Gornitai. They can put it in their hair. It takes time, it takes 12 months to yield to this juice, right? It's not like, it's everyday occurrence. So nature, everything in nature, it takes time to yield this Krishna consciousness also. It takes time. All right, there's another, and that's what separates us from animals. Animals are incapable of hearing properly. Okay, let me ask you this. What is the legitimate hearing? Because hearing properly, it implies there's hearing improperly. So what would hearing improperly be? Which puts us in a very kind of down like state of animals. Yes. Stephen, and then who's next? Jonathan.
What was the question again?
What is, because it says hearing hearing properly. It implies it could be hearing improperly or in an unlegitimate way. Huh? Oh. Oh, wow, very clever. It just flew over my head. But is it just inattention? Okay, that's one of them. One of them is inattention. Any other ways that we can improperly hear? John? Not having a mic?
I was going to say hearing through a bona fide source.
Yes. Have you heard that warning? Do not hear from unauthorized sources, because it will be as dangerous as drinking the milk touched by poisonous serpent. Yeah. Very important to hear from the proper source. Yes.
Have your own agenda, like trying to extract things from what's being said to you.
So hearing in an authentic way, not as it is, hearing as it is, not trying to construct based on your own state of consciousness. Yes, Nita.
It's kind of like a saying, you hear through one ear, it goes out through the other ear. Like, you don't take it to your heart. You just listening. Like, it's just white noise. You're just listening, but you're not really taking it to heart, not really applying.
Taking it, what we hear, as information, not as something that is need to yield to transformation. And transformation only happens when we take it to the heart. Do we believe in this? Do we really believe in what we are reading? Dear devotees, to what extent we believe? Or do we believe science? What kind of doubts are there while we are here? These are all important factors while we are trying to hear. Yes.
Hearing to understand and not hearing to respond.
Yes. That will be proper and improper or illegitimate. It's hearing just so I can respond, which leaves us short of the experience. Because there's actually experience that happens when we are hearing, just hearing. It's like, have you seen those children books when you open and the whole thing just castles and dragons and just pops open? So Bhagavatam is like that. It's a living thing. And Krishna can appear in your heart. Krishna's sun can be risen in your heart and dissipate the darkness. There's many texts. Bhagavatam also illustrates. Okay, we have another verse to cover, and I'll just go through it real quick. The Supersoul enters into the bodies of created beings who are influenced by the modes of material nature and causes them to enjoy the effects of these modes by the subtle mind. And in the purport, there are 8,400,000 species of living beings, beginning from the highest intellectual being Brahma down to the insignificant ant, and all of them are enjoying the material world according to the desires of the subtle mind and gross material body. The gross material body is based on the conditions of the subtle mind, and the senses are created according to the desire of the living being. The Lord, as Paramatma, helps the living being get material happiness, because the living being is helpless in all respects in obtaining what he desires. So if the sun doesn't raise, rain doesn't come down, can we produce that? We cannot. So we are dependent at all times, yet we are so ungrateful. He proposes and Lord disposes. We propose, Krishna dispose. In another sense, the living beings are part and parcels of the Lord. They are therefore one with the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, the living beings in all varieties of body have been claimed by the Lord as his sons. So there you have it. We're all sons of God, right? But there are some that are awakened and some are still sleeping. You know the lullaby of ISKCON? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Wakey, wakey. The sufferings and enjoyments of the sons are indirectly the sufferings and enjoyments of the father. So, Krishna is not happy when there's suffering. It's just like father is not happy when there's suffering. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are in anxiety. Why they're in anxiety? Because there's so much suffering in the world. So to take on the mission of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda is the mission of dissipating or minimizing the suffering by adding illumination to the world. Suffering means darkness. Tamasoma, what is our proposal? Tamasoma Jyotirga, come out of darkness, come to the light, come to the truth. What is the truth? It's very simple. The truth is very simple. It's not complicated. It has nothing to do with Christian, Muslim, Jew. The truth is universal. It has nothing to do with labels. It has everything to do with becoming a decent human being. Right? And we won't get into it, but just look at the meals you're having. What kind of meals you're having? Is that really a civilized human meal? Is that really the best option you're choosing? So come out of darkness, come to the light. But the sons are rather stubborn. So to take on the mission of Lord Chaitanya, it takes a lot of hard work. How to touch hearts. How to manage not to be the threat to other people's existence. Because people are very afraid, like we said in the beginning. They're very afraid of so many things, especially the unknown things. The Hare Krishna cult. What do they know about it? Well, what they hear from who knows what sources. All right, he's so kind that he constantly remains with the living being as Paramatma. That is also in the previous verse, Antaryami, Vishvatma, Paramatma. And always tries to convert the living beings towards the real happiness. So this is the mission, again, of Lord Chaitanya. Convert could be a trigger word because we are not, none of this is about conversion. It's rather about redirecting from darkness to light. But anyway, that's a whole different can of worms. Anything you want to add at this point? Anything that stood out for you? Yes.
I like how you said talking about the hearing properly, and what Bruce said about like listening to understand instead of listening to respond. I think that has so many layers to it as well. Like it can be taken very subtly, like with our personal relationships, and then also with Krishna. When we're reading Krishna's names or reading Krishna's words, trying to understand it first instead of trying to just respond to what's going on. I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Krishna's names, like during japa.
Or like because I heard Ananta Vallabha, I think that's his name. He came and did kirtan, and when he was doing the kirtan, he said, try to hear yourself say the name.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that made it really interesting to try and hear yourself saying these transcendental names, transcendental sounds, trying to
Yes.
really like, right? Because you're the one saying it, so it's like, oh, how
Yes,
can
that
I
is a
hear
process.
this?
Yeah, that is the process of awakening. Very good point. I actually heard from many devotees who said during japa, I'm having a hard time to visualize Krishna. It's like it's happening so fast. I cannot visualize. So what? You're visualizing Krishna. This is not a process. This is not a process. Process is, Prabhupada actually said, and Mahatma Prabhu, I also heard from him, quoting Srila Prabhupada, we should simply try to hear ourselves chanting sincerely. Chanting sincerely. We should try to hear ourselves chanting sincerely. So hearing our own voice, like you said, it's part of becoming conscious. And then hopefully down the road become Krishna conscious. We are meant to flood our consciousness with the transcendental sound vibration. It's very difficult to flood our consciousness if we are not hearing ourselves chanting sincerely. We'll be like going all over. Like yesterday, I went to fill up the cans, or one can for the generator, only one. I didn't know there was more, but I filled that one. And if I wasn't attentive, like I'll be just like pulling gas everywhere. It's not coming into my ear hole. The gas will be going everywhere. And that's a dangerous waste of time and resources. So yeah, that's a good point. Nita, shall we take it over breakfast? Or? Okay. Sure, yeah, please.
I like the point that Carly brought up about hearing ourselves. Just it's a realization that I'm chanting for 2 hours a day almost, or maybe more than that. But while those 2 hours are like going on, if like suddenly I realize that I'm chanting and I hear myself chanting, and that moment like feels like, oh, this is so wonderful. Like, what have I been doing? Like, I have not been listening to this at all. And that attention goes away. But that moment of just hearing yourself, then we actually feel like, oh, I'm chanting. This is how it's supposed to be. It's a very sweet moment. 2 minutes out of 2 hours it happens a day, but those 2 minutes are the best.
That's when Krishna enters our mind. It becomes, everything is clear. Krishna is compared like a powerful warrior, but unless he is in a fort, then our mind is compared to a fort. A fort is, St. Augustine is a fort. Unless Krishna enters our mind, in a fort of our mind, that fort, that fort will be robbed easily by the plunderers coming, and also they will hijack the princess that it's in the fort. And princess is the intelligence. It will be hijacked by the plunderers. But once you lose your intelligence, what is the fort without a princess? It's a very sad place. It's a very sad place. So it's very, Krishna is the supreme warrior. As he promised when he kidnapped, before he kidnapped Rukmini, speaking about fire and wood, he promised, he says, I will come and take you after I trash all these useless kings. Just like the fire consumes the wood. That's something
like a little word play on words that we could use to maybe remember the how to hear properly. We could try to remember our intention, our attention, our retention, and the representation that we're getting the hearing from. So kind of covering some of the points that we talked about.
What is the representation?
Like the who you're hearing from.
Ah, who you're hearing from. Very nice. Nice reminder. Thank you all. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi.
Start all over again.